All right, folks, this is Michael Cox. I hope you guys are on. Hi, Vicki in El Paso. Good to see you. I am going to, in just a moment, mute everyone's lines, and so we will have some time in a little bit to have some question and answer, some feedback, and those kind of things. And so if you have any questions, just please go ahead and type them into the chat box, and Glenn Dembowski will be fielding those for me, and we'll take care of those as we get going. Also, I would like to see if we have folks on, who we have on the line. So Glenn, is there a way to see that pane, to see who we have on the actual line, and then the actual call-in line that's covering up the screen? Can we take that off? There we go. All right. Moving some things around, so give us a second, guys. I wanted to be able to see who you are and who's out there. All right, I hear some noise. So we've got, looks like an Ashley Payne, Sharice Glasper. Hello, Sharice.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm doing fine. I lost you on my computer, though.
Uh-oh. Lost my face?
Yeah.
Uh-oh, you're not missing much.
So I'm calling in because I can't see on the computer. I'm not sure if it's just our connection here in Houston.
Okay. How are you guys okay with water down there?
We are. Lots of water everywhere, but we're okay.
Okay. Well, that's good to hear. We've got Connie Wyman.
Hi.
How are you, Connie?
I'm good. I'm also in Houston.
Oh, goodness. I'm supposed to come to Houston on Friday, but if y'all don't stop raining, I'm not coming.
We'll try our
I don't know if it's going to stop.
Yeah, it's supposed to get a little bit more, so we're going to pay that by ear. I'm coming to see Pamela, Sharice.
Which Pam?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
All right. So we've got a George Vanderveer, Kim Shoemate, Patsy, and Tori. All right. Up and Vicki. There you are. I know we had about a number of people sign up, a couple people that I don't see thus far, but I'm going to go ahead and mute your phones and get started. And hi, Vicki. I am going to mute your phones and get started, and then we will have some time for question and answer. Like I said, if you do have some things that you want to, questions to raise or need me to reiterate something, please go ahead and type that in the chat box, and we'll take care from there. We're going to be, so I'm going to go ahead and mute you guys. So we're going to be pretty informal today, but it's going to be some details about the RFP that's coming out. And so this is around our Authentic Youth and Young Adult Engagement RFP that was released on May 18th. And so I'm just going to give you a little bit of tidbit information about kind of our perspective on youth engagement and why it's important, and some ways and tips around to do that. And then I'm going to move into the details of the actual RFP, and then answer any questions that you might have. So we're going to get moving on it. So this is our review, youth and young adult engagement within our system of care. What does that look like? Give you a little bit about what system of care is. Some things to consider when trying to engage young people. Many of you probably are working with young people, so hopefully some of these things won't be new news to you, but just kind of give you a foundation, kind of where we're coming from and how we approach youth engagement and young adult engagement. Spend some time with questions and answers, and then we'll kind of conclude it up. So hopefully don't take a whole lot of your time today, but hopefully to get your questions answered and things taken care of for you this morning. All right. So here we go. So system of care values. System of care is a framework or kind of a different way of doing business. Some of you may or may not be familiar with the term system of care, but it's been around for quite some time. And some of those core values of system of care are for services to be family-driven and youth-guided, community-based, culturally and linguistically competent. And so that's some of the foundational things around system of care. And obviously today we're going to be hitting the component of youth-guided or youth-driven. You'll hear me kind of bring those terms interchangeably throughout the time together. All of those values are brought together to try to support, improve, and engage families within a system, and knowing how to work with those families and youth within the system, and seeing them as equal partners in the process. So we're simply looking at where the youth component fits into that today. So this is kind of the youth guided definition that is utilized within system of care, brought Department of Health and Human Services. Back in 2009, there was a document put together by the Technical Assistance Partnership from the American Institute for Research around how to develop youth and adult partnerships. I'm saying, will you provide slides to us? Glenn, apparently they're not able to see the slides. If you can't see the slides, if you look, I'm sorry, down in the left-hand pane, you guys will look where it says File Share. There's a copy of the slides, and there is a questions, the webinar documents, as well as the final draft of the things to consider. Oh, you see them, but you want the actual copy. Okay, yeah. So the actual notes, Patty, yeah, you'll have to, I guess, take those on your own, but the actual slides, you can download those from that file share there in the bottom left-hand corner. So if you want to try to type them into there, you can type the notes into that, or print them off and write them. All right, so youth guided definition means that youth are engaged as equal partners in creating systems change, whereas adults have historically worked on the behalf of youth. This value calls for systems of care to create partnerships that allow youth and adults to collaborate for the purpose of system transformation. Systems of care strive to create meaningful, equal partnerships between youth and adults in planning, implementation, and evaluation across a broad spectrum of organizations and activities in local communities, states, territories, and tribes, as well as on national levels. So it's trying to develop an opportunity for young people to be equal partners and figuring out where is their role in systems transformation, what is their voice and their life experiences and their personal expertise. Where do they come into the play when it comes to systems transformation? And so this is just one of our steps in trying to see that actualized and how to assist a couple of communities in developing that process. So I'm going to go over a couple of things, and you'll see this full document down in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen where it says File Share. There's the full Word document, a PDF document of this, things to consider when seeking to engage young people. This is part of a greater document that we've created called a Youth Engagement Guide that's for systems, specifically developed for systems and how to engage young people. And some effective ways to engage young people. So these are kind of some thoughts and some practices that I've just kind of gathered over my years of working with young people. And so the first one, there's about 8 of them. I'm going to go through them pretty quickly, but just some things to think about, and again, just to give you a framework of where we're coming from. One is to establish a common understanding on the importance of engaging youth within your organization. So that common understanding for the agency or organization itself, as well as that understanding of young people that would be involved, whether it's receiving services, giving voice back to the system for transformation and development. But there is a common understanding of what is youth engagement, why is it important, and how it's going to happen. That has got to be established, and looking at that can be done through surveys, can be done through group discussions and forums, all those kind of things, and figuring out are we on the same page of young people being equal partners in this process. The second thing is, what are the outcomes? Excuse me, establish a communities, communicate your desired outcomes for engaging young people. What is it that we want to be the outcome? Is it simply, do we want young people to be at the table and their voice to be heard, or are they truly giving feedback and equal collaborators in the process? And so what are the outcomes? Why do we want young people to be at the table? And why do young people want to be at the table and be able to come together on that the same page? Collaboration, who is already doing it? So think about in your community, who is already working with young people? And many of you are probably that person. But who are some of the folks that you can collaborate with to bring a greater impact in the community? And so if your agency or organization does not have young people involved beyond services at this point, maybe there is a youth organization or a youth-led organization within your community already engaging young people, where young people are leaders and doing the work. And maybe there's a way to collaborate with them. So who is already doing it, and who is already active, and how can we partner to continue to engage and develop leaders within our young people? The next one is cultural considerations. And so if your agency has no way of connecting with young people on their level, or maybe the environment isn't conducive to young people being there and being engaged and enjoying being in the environment, maybe there's a way that you can make those shifts. But also just understanding the whole culture in itself of youth and young adults. They kind of have their own way of operating. They're in a different life stage than we are as adults, and so getting and gaining an understanding of youth culture as an agency or organization, and how is that going to affect your practice. And then the agency support is knowing how is the agency organization going to support the young people. Do you have the infrastructure to do so? Do you have personnel available to support and help work with those young people? A vital part of engaging young people in the process. The next thing is clear expectations. Being able to know what it is you want from the young person, as well as what is that you can offer. What do they expect from you? Communicating those, and that's an ongoing process. And as you're engaging young people, where are those clear lines of communication, open lines of communication with them, whether it's sitting on a board, developing a youth council, any of those things, making sure that there is a clear expectation, clear understanding of the expectations for them and the group and those that are going to be involved. The level of interest, gauging, do young people want to be engaged? I mean, do they want to be a part of your system? Do they want to give voice back to your system? And what does that look like? I think we sometimes get caught up because a grant says that we should do X, Y, Z, and one of those letters is engaging young people, but what we think of as engagement may not be the same as theirs, and so just figuring out what their level of interest is and how much do they truly want to be involved in the system's process and transformation. Then the next one is recruitment. How do you get young people? And I know that that's where many people have struggled in just saying, how do we get young people at the table? And so there are a few suggestions in this, and this would be part of the technical assistance that we could provide and those who receive the funding, is how do we get young people and how do we maintain and sustain those young people within our system? And then the final thing is ongoing engagement and support. You know, how do we maintain this and how do we keep it going and making sure that it's a value that is kept within our system. So all of those are expounded on a little bit in that document that's there down in the file share. But just wanted to kind of give you a little bit of some things to think about and where we're coming from and what we think when we think of youth engagement, youth and young adult engagement, kind of what the framework of what we're thinking and what that might look like, and some things just to continue to consider as an organization, as an agency. You'll hear me oftentimes talk throughout this time of how it is the responsibility of that agency to really make the infrastructure changes that are necessary or adjustments to be able to authentically engage young people and what that would look like. And so the challenges to those systems, you have young people who are eager and ready to go, but if our system isn't ready to support them, that oftentimes we've seen historically that doesn't always succeed. And so that, if anything, it doesn't sustain. And so what do we do to help support that system becomes the big deal. All right? So the next thing is looking at the actual RFP. All of you hopefully have seen it. If not, there's a copy of it in the file share to be able to look at the details and the structure of the RFP. But we're going to walk through that a little bit and kind of tell you kind of what we're thinking about and expecting and looking forward to as you guys write submissions. So the scope of the RFP, the purpose of it, the grant is to support local communities or organizations to plan and implement strategies to enhance youth voice, especially for youth with mental health challenges. Now, I previously got a question asked in an email, kind of what does that mean and how do you define mental health challenges? One thing, let me put it out there, is we are a mental health initiative, and so obviously we want to be able to make sure that we are supporting local mental health authorities and those who provide mental health services to young people. But realize it's not, you're not isolated to this being something specifically just for young people with mental health challenges. We realize that doesn't necessarily always mean a diagnosis, but it can. And so we know that because of all the things that young people are dealing with right now, they are at risk of developing. So there's a good argument for any of those. But the purpose and the greater scope is helping agencies and organizations know how to better engage young people. And this little pot of money is to try to help build that infrastructure to support that long term, and to develop the strategies that are necessary in doing that. So as you're looking at this, yes, there would be a portion of that we want to know what does that mean with youth with mental health challenges, but we definitely recognize that there are many things that are out there that may contribute to the risk factors of young people developing that. So hopefully that's clear, and if not, we can come back to visit it, but don't get caught up on just that, especially for youth with mental health challenges. So eligibility, agencies that provide services to children and youth ages 13 to 18. Give or take a few years, obviously before or after that, we realized that the impact of what you guys may be submitting and doing does impact young people before that age and even some after that. But this is kind of the target age where we feel like we can help gather some information and data from, but also knowing that it will impact others. Community collaborative groups. And so if you maybe not work for a mental health agency or a child and adolescent service agency, but you're a community collaborative, and your target specifically is young people, and you want to know how to better engage them within your community. So that will allow you to be eligible. And then specifically youth councils. And so if there's a youth council that's out there that is seeking some funds to improve their engagement of the system, that's a little bit of a flip. We'd love to do that. But in that proposal, I'd really like to see how is that youth council going to engage the adults or the system or the agency with the work that they're doing. And so that adult-youth partnerships and collaboration. And so youth councils can definitely apply if they're finding interest. But it kind of flips the page a little bit. How are you going to engage the adults in the work that you're going to do? So the award specifically, there are we're looking for 2 communities or organizations will be chosen. $5,000 per community to be used by June 30th of 2016. So that's not a whole lot of money, but it's something that gets us started. And the technical assistance that we would be able to provide would go through the contract of contract year of June 30th, 2016. And so what that would look like, it really depends on what you submit. Myself, as well as a group of young people from a group called ACCEPT, which I'll talk about a little bit in a second, is our statewide youth and young adult engagement group, will provide some of that technical assistance. But it's $5,000 per community, and looking for 2 communities that will actually receive the award as we move forward. So the schedule of kind of how things are going to play out. As you see, on the 18th was when the release date went out for the RFP to be released. The webinar's today. Response to questions posted May 29th. So if there are more questions that are raised than I can answer today, or if we need more detail, I can answer those in kind of an FAQ form on our website, and that'll be available hopefully by May 29th once we get that information up there. The submissions are due July 1st by 5 p.m. And so we really hope we get those in by then. Looking forward to many of them coming in. Notifications of the reward will happen July 27th. We'll let the individual communities that are chosen through a rubric development process and a team of young people, as well as some agency representatives, community representatives that will be a part of that scoring team. We'll score using our rubric, and we'll make the notifications on July 27th. Public announcement, so letting the public know that these communities have been selected, and kind of our initial outreach to those groups will be done on August 24th. And then we hope to get started with the chosen communities on September the 1st of 2015. So seems a little bit of ways away, but we all know summer's approaching and how fast all that process goes. So that's the schedule. So looking at the submission of the proposals, some things that we definitely want to see is a cover letter, obviously with some details of that are in the actual rubric of what's expected there. Maximum of 5 pages, and that's a pretty hard 5 pages. I think that we can develop a long-term plan or look at the long-term plan that the community is chosen, but we're looking at no more than 5 pages when you submit the actual proposal. And then statement of support from leadership. This one's pretty important. When we think about sustainability, if you're an agency or an organization and maybe you're not in that lead position or the executive director, it's really important for us to know that leadership is supporting these efforts and what they're going to do to try to help sustain those. And so we really want a letter of support from that lead person, whether it's an executive director or a CEO or whoever within the agency will be part of that proposal. Some review criteria, so we start looking at the rubric, what are we going to be looking for as we're doing a scoring. So the description of a community organization, who are you, what you do, and what's happening with young people. The efforts at youth engagement and local needs. So what are you currently doing? And it's okay to be honest, if you don't have much happening outside of services, that's okay. But what are you currently doing? What's happening now to engage young people? And obviously then where you want to go from there. And the proposed engagement goals and activities. So what is it that you want to do with the $5,000 that would be rewarded? What would you want to do? And what would be your goals for that? And there obviously would be a piece of that of how to sustain that, but we would be able to develop that in the technical assistance process. And then the letter of support from leadership. And so being able to, again, come back to executive support in making this happen for the community. So by 5 o'clock on Wednesday, July the 1st, 2015, you can email those directly to myself at m.cox@austin.utexas.edu. In the subject line, please put AYYAE project, or you can fax it. The number is there, and then make sure the attention is to AYYAE, Authentic Youth and Young Adult Engagement, Authentic Engagement. Authentic Youth and Young Adult Engagement, then Michael Cox. You can submit those directly to me, or on our website. When you go to our website, we'll show the link later that you can submit them on to the info@systemofcare.org as well. So a couple of different ways that you can get it to us, but we want that by 5 p.m. on July the 1st. All right, I feel like I ran through that really quickly. One more thing before we open it up for questions is when we start thinking through the technical assistance portion of this, myself as a youth engagement specialist for the Texas System of Care, as well as a group of young people that we have employed or contract with that are part of our group, ACCEPT. So ACCEPT is an acronym for Allies Cultivating Change Through Positive Transformation. And it's a group of young adults and youth who work with me to seek authentic youth engagement within agencies. And so if you don't currently have young people at the table, that's okay. We can bring them and help them in the process. The goal of this is to really look at how is your system going to support this process, and then what is the project or process going to be. I'm a firm believer in that if the system isn't ready or isn't willing to support it, it's going to be a difficult process. And so I hope you hear me emphasizing that in this conversation. So we're going to open it up. I'm going to go ahead and unmute your lines, and so you can either verbally ask a question or have a written question there in the bottom. All right, so I see Sharice has already asked, organizations that already have a youth council, how different do you see their proposals? Is it more expanding on their youth council? Yes, expanding on what they're currently doing, and I'd love to see what is the plan for that group and their engaging of the system. So what are they doing to impact the system and how those two working together? So yeah, expanding on what they're already doing, like what you're already doing there, Sharice, in Houston, and the great work with those young people. But how is their voice impacting the system, and what are the plans to do that? What are the reporting requirements of the grant? The beauty of this is...
I can hear them. I just can't see the PowerPoint that they're going through.
Oh, hi, Sharice.
That wasn't me.
Oh, okay. Sorry. So the other question is, what are the reporting requirements for the grant? They're pretty minimal. Part of this process, we've created a organizational assessment that may or may not be utilized. It has not been tested. We're hoping that we will be able to use our communities to help us with that process. And so if that's what the agreement is and that the community is ready to do that, we will develop some reporting things from there. But just updates, part of our technical assistance will be monthly calls and depending on what you submit, how much technical assistance is needed. So it'll be pretty minimal. Hope that helps, George. Any other questions, verbally or written? Yes, Patty, it will be 2 communities. So 2 communities will receive an award of $5,000 each. And so it will go through June, the money to be utilized by June 30th of 2016. It doesn't have to be 2 different cities. It could be 2 organizations within a city. It could be, but it wouldn't be 2 awards to 1 organization. So it would be different organizations, but it does not have to be 2 different cities. When I say communities, I'm kind of using that word broadly. So it could be with, like in the city of Houston, 2 different groups could receive it. Probably better to say agencies or organizations. It would be 2 different agencies or organizations. Anybody else? Is there a system of care in Dallas? They're not in Dallas itself. Fort Worth has a number of them. And the beauty of this is you don't have to be a system of care community to receive this award. And so that's not one of the criteria. And so, but as far as an actual system of care community in Dallas, there's not. We just gave, actually I say that, we just did our Texas System of Care just did part of our Texas expansion grant. We just did an award in Dallas. Now that I have to eat my own words. We just had our first award with them. They just went under contract, I do believe. So that was but that's through the Texas expansion grant as opposed to them receiving direct funds from SAMHSA. Patty, let me write that down because I should know that, and I don't know the exact name of the community, Patty. I'll get who that is for you. I probably will lose them. Dallas County, it's like one of their health services or something, but I can get you the specific name, Patty, and email that to you of who it is. All right, folks, I feel like I flew through that. So are there any other questions? I think the details of the RFP, I think are hopefully pretty clear. It's left really broad because I'm really interested to see what's out there. And this is our first round at this, but we really want to help with what your individual needs are. And so definitely don't feel like you've got to fit a frame. Whatever your efforts you would like to make in trying to engage young people within your system, we're excited to see that. And so, yeah, the questions are there as you're submitting the actual response to the prompting questions in the RFP. We're just excited to see what you're going to do, and then we will look at the technical assistance around that. Any final questions? And definitely feel free to email me if something comes up afterwards. You can do that. This is the web page for accessing our FAQs, and so if there's anything that comes up, we will post it there. If I don't get any questions, then they won't be posted, I guess. All right, got a couple more questions being typed. We'll check those out. Oh, well, thank you, Leanne. Could be fun. We've got some neat things that are on the horizons with this, and the 2 communities, Metro Care and Dallas. There you go. That's the system of care community that got granted under our Texas System of Care expansion is Metro Care for Patty. But yeah, there's some great things that can come from this. We've got some tools that we really want to try to be able to utilize with the communities that are going to get the award, and hopefully help us gather some data on some new instruments that will be out there. So should be some fun stuff. If we don't have any other questions, I think we can call it. And please feel free to email me or give me a call if you have any questions after this or after reading through the actual RFP. And we look forward to your submissions, and good luck. Thanks, everyone.